SHOT Show 2019 is now something of a bit of a blur in the past. And with that said, time to decompress with the initiation of a TIP, or test in progress. During SHOT Show 2019, we were able to host the Voodoo Lounge with a few guests and attendees that were well received and enjoyed themselves. The folks at NITECORE were not able to attend. However, they quite generously insisted on the donation of 4 of their new flashlights. This is the NITECORE TUP. One of the flashlights I will utilize myself during this test in progress. The other 3 will be distributed as per the request of the NITECORE reps. I'll go ahead and take the box with the damage, and we will jump into this box opening of the NITECORE TUP. The box is a nice solid cardboard, obviously to be discarded almost immediately, possibly saved for return if that's necessary. There are some instructions along with the light itself. This comes with a keychain ring with a gate style clasp and a nice secure spring retention on that, an offset gate by the pinpoints. Now, the TUP was introduced during SHOT Show. If memory serves, it actually was introduced in late 2018, and just by way of some general technical data for the light, it starts off with a 1 lumen rating, 15 lumen rating, 65 lumen rating, 200 lumen rating, and then what they call the turbo goes up to 1,000 lumens. That's reported as per the NITECORE representatives and folks that were there. There's different run times for these. We'll get into that a little bit later during the test in progress. And it also has a submersion or immersion rating of IP54 rated. Now, this also has a 1 meter impact resistance, so a drop resistance or drop protection height of approximately 1 meter. So it doesn't have a real high drop rating. For size purposes, we've got a Armscore wristwatch, or rather an Armalite wristwatch with a NATO style band. This is a Swiss Army knife, the ALOX size. You know, it's a small pocketable keychain type pocket knife. And then this is a full-size Vance. It's a custom Vance pocket carry knife with a liner lock. And of course, this is a full-size pocket knife, or full-size pocket carry clipped knife. The TUP, as far as size is concerned, is probably a little on the big side for pocket carry. By way of comparison, I have this Olight S1A baton that I have been carrying for approximately a year, and it is carried in a front side pocket. And the TUP is not much bigger in diameter, that is, than the S1A baton, which is a AA sized battery powered light. It's a little bit larger in overall width and or diameter type dimensions, probably because of the square shape. But as far as length is concerned, it's a bit shorter by way of approximately about at least a half an inch. So it also has a pocket carry clip, or a clip carry. Just went ahead and activated the light there, as does the Olight. And the Olight has a magnet in the base that can be removed, which is a handy issue. The NITECORE TUP does not seem to have any type of magnetic application to it whatsoever. Now, So with a quick battery change out in order and completed, we'll get back into the TUP. The TUP has a keyring attachment point at the rear behind the front end where the bezel would be and the LED light is. It has a recessed reflector, and it is smooth in nature with an additional recess for the actual LED itself. If you could pick that up a bit. The TUP has a clip. I hesitate to call this a belt clip or a pocket clip because with the configuration that it's in, it will work quite well on the underside of the bill of a hat, or possibly even, most likely even on the top. Well, here we go. I just deployed the button once again. So this will work quite well, and it's not too heavy. Don't have the actual weight on this, but it's not too heavy as to cause the bill of the hat to tilt forward excessively. So that's another nice feature for this light body. The charging of this light it has an internal battery, so you would have to completely disassemble the light to get to the battery, and it has an in situ battery charge with a micro USB port with a very well placed and a bit of a determined either silicone or rubberized type plug to keep moisture out. The light itself has an LED reading on the top. Go ahead and just turn that on. You can see that it has an LED display that will show you your run time and the mode that you're in. To activate, there are two buttons. Obviously this has a power symbol here, and then there's some striations, some 4 lines across this top button. That is the button that will get you to your settings, but also will put you into turbo mode. You hold that down and it will go immediately to 1000 lumen according to the LED readout. Now that's a momentary switch. You cannot activate the turbo mode at 1000 lumens and keep it on. It has to only be temporary activation. There is no way to actually keep that on. If you punch that, then you get the LED readout once again. To power the light itself, one press of this button will bring it to the 1 lumen setting, and then it will power off. To cycle up on the lumen setting, you use the level setting button there to cycle from 1 lumen or moonlight to, strike that, let me back up. We're at 1 lumen, 15 lumen. What was this? This was 25 lumen, I believe. 65 lumen rather. 200 lumen, and 200 lumen is the highest setting by merely cycling up on the constant on with this light. Now the other nice feature about this light is that you can lock it out. A double tap of the power setting brings it into lockout 1, and then holding it down brings it to lockout 2. To bring it out of lockout, you tap it and hold. See the key setting, now we're back into on. Again, to lock it out to lockout number 1, tap it and hold, and we are in, no we're not. Tap it and hold, we're in lockout 1. You cannot go from lockout 1 to lockout 2 by merely holding and depressing, because that brings it back into the on and active setting. To put it into lockout 2, tap it, hold it for approximately 2 seconds. Or rather not. I'll leave it off for about 3 seconds and try the cycle again. Tap it, hold, we're in 1, and now we're in lockout 2. In lockout 2, you cannot bring the light into power or into battery. Nothing will bring the light on until, actually you have to hold the power button again. Tap and hold, 1, and now 2 setting, we're in power, lockout 2. Pressing and holding this for turbo mode will not bring it on, just remind you that you're in lockout 2. Tapping shows you're in lockout 2. Holding shows you're in lockout 2. So if this is moving against the inside of your pocket in lockout 2, or if it is in your ruck or bouncing around in luggage or other carry, just simply holding these in will not make it deploy, will not bring it on. It'll remain in lockout 2. You have to actually tap and hold the power button to bring it out of lockout 2. Now, in lockout 1, I'll need to leave it off again for a few seconds. Once into lockout 1, you cannot bring the light back on by merely pressing the power button. It just reminds you that you're in lockout 1. If you press the turbo button or this settings button, it will bring it into turbo. So you can override lockout 1 by pressing and holding the turbo button. So that pretty much sums up the user interface or UI on the NITECORE TUP. We'll be putting these in the field for some testing and evaluation or a tip, and I already have a few people in mind for where these are going to go. We'll also most likely hold a giveaway contest at CPF, and for those of you who know what CPF are, you know where that will be. Good luck, and I'm looking forward to rotating this specific light on my regular carry to see how well it does function. Looks like we just had it go on to power off. Yeah, we're in lumen 1, and there you go, see? Lumen 1, ramping up to, that went straight up to the turbo. So again, I'll have to kind of work my way through the user interface a bit. We're at 15 lumen, 65 lumen, 200 lumen, then pressing and holding goes straight up to the 1000 lumen. So yeah, be interesting to see how well this works on a regular carry. Now, after some time of test in progress in the field and having allowed this TUP flashlight to go to complete discharge, it's been plugged in. You can see that the light blue LED on the two buttons is flashing to indicate that in fact it is in the charging mode. But while it's charging, it's also of interest to note that the TUP will be able to be used to full capacity as it charges. At least that's the according to the manual, etc. So looking very much forward to this and to see how long it will take to come to a complete full charge. And now at the 3-hour 21-minute mark, it appears that we may have the TUP fully charged. As you can see, the blue LED lights on both buttons are solid at this point, and the display, the screen on the camera is not giving us, it looks a little fuzzy, but that is indicating 4.20 OU, if I'm reading that correctly, and that I believe is the proper indication for the battery being fully charged at that voltage, and it's reading LV.4. You can see the battery indicator itself, when the button is pushed, it kind of shows that it goes doit doit with the center bar of the battery emblem, and gives it that indication that it is fully charged. So this is at the fully charged point at 3 hours 21 minutes. Without too much redundancy on this mid-range level report on the test in progress, I'm going to combine this with the original introduction box opening of this light. But just by way of just recalibrating here, this is the NITECORE TUP. Recalibrating. In any event, the TUP, the TUP that was introduced at SHOT Show 2019. We have several of these that have been gifted out, one to a mechanic, a full-time mechanic who will be using his light, or has been using his light very frequently, a young man who is entering the professions, you might say, and myself, and then we're also going to have a light that I neglected to put up on a giveaway contest, but we'll be doing a GAC with the fourth remaining light that's still in box, ready to go out. Now, without too much redundancy on the TUP, it has a screen at the front or the face of the light on the side of the body next to the control buttons. It has a very smooth reflector, not terribly deep-seated as far as where the LED rests in the reflector itself, but a smooth reflector and quite a deep cover on the lens itself. Don't know the exact thicknesses, don't know the exact dimensions of it, but that's just by way of what can be viewed through the front of this light. The body, I wasn't positive about the construction of the body, but the body is aluminum. It's anodized aluminum, as I understand it, a hardened coating. This is black, of course. I understand that it is available in gray at this point, several months after SHOT Show. In my findings, my personal carry of this, I've carried this light in conjunction with another small AA powered flashlight by another manufacturer, and side by side, the light settings are very, very similar, with the exception, of course, of the turbo modes are even pretty similar. The utilization of the user interface, the UI on the buttons of these, the display button, and of course this is also the settings button, but then of course the power button itself. I was a little skeptical about these buttons because of the placement. They're opposite the pocket carry, so if you're carrying this inside the pocket, in essence, the buttons are facing your body. I was concerned about accidental activation. Now, let me go ahead and, we're enjoying a Papa Doble here while we're conducting this test in progress, or TIP, and that is the first of probably 2 or 3 for today. We'll kind of judge that as we go. But getting back to the buttons, I was concerned about accidental activation of the buttons. Now, the TUP has a setting that we've already gone into where you can lock out the buttons. There's the setting 1, which is like a low lockout mode, and setting 2, which locks out the buttons completely until you override that. I believe we've already gone into the UI, the user interface of that. However, I have not found this TUP worn in the front pocket, primarily, usually in a front pocket of pants or slacks. I have not found any accidental activations of this light on my part, and that's just my personal experience. Other people may have a separate experience themselves. However, I, in spite of my serious doubts, did not experience any known accidental activations. I have been carrying this on what is referred to as the daily mode. Now, the daily mode here on the indicator will allow you to, once you turn the light on in whatever setting it's in, it will remain on without any automatic shut-off. If this is in the demo mode, what is referred to as the demo mode, and you alternate between demo and daily by pressing both buttons at the same time. Now we are in demo mode, and then you can switch back to daily mode by merely holding both buttons down simultaneously, and we are back into the daily mode. Daily mode does not have any automatic shut-off timer, whereas the demo mode will shut off, if memory serves, at approximately 20-second point or the 25-second point, no more than 30 seconds if memory serves. And then it will just automatically shut off of whatever power setting you're on. I prefer to keep it in the daily mode, and it's worked fine for me. We have had some run times with this light. I've been able to establish some run times, at least from this light that I open. And again, this is a factory box. This came out as a sampling from SHOT Show with the intention that they be given away and used in the field for demonstration purposes and to determine how well they will function. In my case with this light, my run time from the 200 lumen setting, and this was a constant run time. I was able to use a timer, a stopwatch timer, to turn it on every time I had the light on, and I would turn it off. Frankly, I was able to do this in a controlled setting most of the time, not in the field, and so it was room temperature. And in my experience, I was able to have a constant runtime of 3 hours, 8 minutes, just approximately 3 hours, 8 minutes before I began to receive a low battery warning on the display. It would flash low battery instead of the battery symbol. Now, that wasn't the end of this light. In other words, the battery was not completely discharged at the 3 hour, 8 minute mark at the 200 lumen setting. Then the light automatically shifted down to a lower lumen setting to what I believe was 65 lumens. And that was to the 3 hour, 26 minute mark. And keep in mind, this was over the course of 3 lapses where the light was turned off for a period of time and then returned on, and the timer was resumed where it had left off. Now, this went down between the 1 and 15 lumen setting. Kind of, I don't know if it alternated, but it was definitely somewhere in the 1 lumen to 15 lumen setting, with 15 lumens still available, again, up until, and I correct myself, up to the 3 hour, 26 minute point. Now, 15 lumens was still available. Now, this automatically shifted down to 1 lumen and continued to run at 1 lumen from the 4 hour, 20 minute point, and then completely discharged. There was no lumens visible through the LED itself at 4 hours and 25 minutes. That was completely discharged. The battery appeared to have been completely discharged, and reactivation of the power button would not bring it back into on. It would not bring it back on. Now, once completely off, I was somewhat concerned. I had heard that there might be episodes where, completely discharging the battery, this internal battery for the TUP, may cause a battery retention problem or a power retention problem. However, once plugged in using a micro USB cable, which of course is readily available here, I've become a little more adept at removing that without extreme difficulty. And this rubberized, I believe it is rubber. I was thinking it might be a silicone material, but the rubberized plug for the micro USB port is much easier. It comes out more and more easily and pops back into place more easily with more use and episodes of recharging. But using a micro USB cable brought this back up to full charge at the 3 hour, 21 minute point. It took 3 hours, 21 minutes to fully charge or bring the battery to full charge on the TUP. Now, one of my guys mentioned, that when you open the box, the TUP did not come with a micro USB charging cable. And, in this day and age, if you don't already have at least one, and more than likely 3 or 4 micro USB charging cables available to you and a battery pack available to you, I think the 1970s wants their mustache back at this point. So, not something that I feel that NITECORE should, be required or should be nagged into including with the light. The light is currently retailing at about $65 a copy, and for what this does, I find that very reasonable in cost. I'm sure that some other optional fees may be available, but again, just recapping on the charge time, took me about 3 hours 21 minutes to bring this light back, or this battery back up to full charge. Now, the battery is in-house. You're not supposed to remove it in order to charge it, but one of the nice features about this that I've actually found is that when, say, you have this plugged into a battery source and you are charging the light, if you need, and immediately, this occurred, I won't be able to duplicate it here because this light is pretty well charged up at this point, but I have found that when the battery is plugged in, or when the flashlight is plugged in to a power source, this we've got this on, this battery storage unit. It is charging. Now, while this battery is charging in the TUP, you can turn it on. And there we are at the 1 and now the 50 lumen point. And you can use this as a reading light as it's charging, and it appears to actually take a charge as the light is being used. I'm not familiar with any other lights that will do that at this time. There may be some, but in my experience, pretty much the light is dead in the water as far as usage while it is being charged. And in this case, you can see, I think we did a charging, short, brief charging video. You can see that the blue LED is flashing, showing that it is charging as the light is on. There we go. So one of the additional nice features of this light that makes it, as an internal battery source, makes it a little more flexible for use in the field. I've always been concerned about something that has a battery in place that's not removable, where you can change out the batteries in the field. I've always been concerned about, if the battery goes dry, then you definitely have to have a backup flashlight source, and something this small that you want to carry. It's just nice that you can revert to charging it as it's still being used, at least, for whatever purpose you might need, for an area light or for a management light or a scene management light of some type. So a very nice resource for that as well. There's also an issue with this light as far as its some of its ratings, and this is rated at, I'll use this box here, this is rated at a 50 IP54 is the immersion or submersion rating, or the rating for with regards to water and materials. I wasn't sure about this and what that meant. I've seen depth ratings on flashlights in the past. IP is an international rating level. The I stands for solids, and the P is in reference to fluids. The 54 rating, the 5 is the I rating, and the 4, in this case, the second digit, is going to be for the P rating. So the first rating is for solids, meaning dust, etc., and the P rating, the second digit, will be in reference to fluids. So IP54 is rated for basically dust. This body, the body of this light, will resist dust-like particles, and it's not rated for submersion in water or fluids. It's rated for water spray or fluid spray. So this is definitely not a submersible light or a light that you can immerse in water or take underneath. However, at the end of our test and progress, we will be getting into that category with this specific light to see if it has any resistance to being submerged in well, we'll be using water, and if that survives the water immersion, then we will freeze it as well. So it's put together quite nicely. There are star screws on the body, obviously to at least cause a bit of delay in just a typical person just disassembling this just out of curiosity, and hopefully we'll get into that point with this light as well. So with that said, that's pretty much where we are. We're going to continue with this test in progress, and hopefully be able to get into, well, and of course it's also rated on the drop testing. It's got a drop test of 1 meter, so it's not given a very, by the manufacturer, it's not given a very high rating for drop resistance or impact resistance. However, carrying this in the field, haven't had any experience of dropping it. As you can see, the body of the flashlight is still in pretty darn good condition. Of course, when you unbox this, don't forget to remove the little clear cover on the screen. The bezel, the cover for the emitter did not have a covering on it, but the LED readout did in fact have a small clear plastic piece to remove. So with that said, enjoy, and we'll be posting this up and then reporting in a separate test in progress here shortly, hopefully.